Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to His Holiness Chandamuli Maharaj's online daily class. Today's class will be given by Her Grace Radha Vinodini Mataji. And we shall continue discussing Bhishma Dev's prayers from Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 25. Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna,
Hare
dear
Krishna.
devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj. So let's continue with the Srimad Bhagavatam. And
Mataji, do you want to share, or shall you?
I will share because I
Okay.
have also a few other verses prepared.
That's fine. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Okay, I have too many windows. I have to look for the right one. Okay, I have it. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse 25. Sutta uvacha yudhishthirastadra karnya shayanam sharapanjare aprichad vividan dharman vishinam chadur shrinvatam. Srila Prabhupada's translation. Sutta Goswami said, Maharaj Yudhishthir, after hearing Bhishmadeva speak in that appealing tone, asked him in the presence of all the great rishis about the essential principles of various religious duties. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Bhishmadeva, speaking in that appealing tone, convinced Maharaj Yudhishthir that he was very soon passing away. And Maharaj Yudhishthir was inspired by Lord Sri Krishna to ask him of the principles of religion. Lord Sri Krishna inspired Maharaj Yudhishthir to ask Bhishmadeva in the presence of many great sages, indicating thereby that the Lord's devotee, like Bhishmadev, although apparently living as a worldly man, is far superior to many great sages, even Vyasadeva. Another point is that Bhishmadeva at that time was not only lying on a deathbed of arrows, but was greatly aggrieved because of that state. One should not have asked him any question at that time, but Lord Sri Krishna wanted to prove that his pure devotees are always sound in body and mind by dint of spiritual enlightenment, and thus, in any circumstances, a devotee of the Lord is in perfect order to speak of the right way of life. Yudhishthir also preferred to solve his problematic questions by asking Bhishmadev rather than ask anyone else present there who was seemingly more learned than Bhishmadeva. This is all due to the arrangement of the great wheel carrier, Lord Sri Krishna, who establishes the glories of his devotee. The father likes to see his son become more famous than himself. The Lord declares very emphatically that worship of his devotee is more valuable than the worship of the Lord himself. Om Magyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Kashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadatara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pashtaya Bhutale Srimate Chandrama Swami Niti Namine. So first of all, I would like to start with another type of story connected to this. So Srila Prabhupada also quoted this story of Emperor Akbar and his minister Birba. And on one occasion, Akbar asked his minister that how long one remains in lusty desires. And his minister, Birba, who was a very wise man, actually a Vaishnava, he replied that up to the last point of death. And Emperor Akbar was really distressed after hearing this response. It was really something which which he didn't expected and couldn't even really believe it, because sometimes these elderly people seem to be so much renounced or not really into worldly enjoyments, and it was surprising to him that an elderly person could have lusty desires. So how could it be? And Birba promised him that he would prove this. So on one occasion, a few weeks later, in the evening, Birba was knocking on Akbar's door, like this, and Akbar came out, and Birba told him that, dear Emperor, could you come now with me, because I could prove my previous statement to you. So Akbar had faith in his words, and so they started to leave. But before leaving the palace, Birba told him that, please, my dear Emperor, could you also bring your daughter with us? Akbar was really surprised by this request, but he had faith, so they also took his young daughter with them. So they, these guys went to one house in the city, and before going into this place, the minister Birba told Akbar that, please, my dear Emperor, we will now go into this house, but while going in, I will go first and announce you. But when you go in, just examine that person's face who is lying on the bed. So that happened. Birba went into the house and told him that there was a person lying on his deathbed. An old man was lying there. And Birba announced that, my dear sir, you are in a very unfortunate state, but at the same time, you are really fortunate that on your last period of time, the emperor of this great empire personally came to visit you and brought his well wishes for you. So at that point, Akbar and his daughter stepped into the room, and Akbar, just as he promised, was watching this dying man's face. And the dying man was looking at them, but immediately when Akbar's daughter stepped in, this person didn't care at all about the emperor of this great empire or how much respect should he show. He just saw that there is one beautiful lady is there, and just watching and watching her and with a great interest. So Akbar at that moment could understand that, yeah, this is really true, that here is a man who is dying and could die at any moment, and still he's interested in young girls. And actually this story is very instructive because it shows us how general people react to this kind of situation, how they deal with lusty desires. On the other hand, here in this verse, we can see an extraordinary person and a devotee, how he deals with this situation. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, first chapter, verse 6, we can also hear that previously Krishna also spoke in Bhagavad Gita that the highest perfection of human life achieved either by complete knowledge or matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duty, is to remember the personality of Godhead at the end of life. So extraordinary people, devotees, have this kind of goal when they leave this world. And actually, Bhishmadev showed this. And I have to tell you that it's really some kind of topic which, I'm learning the theory of it, but obviously I don't remember the last time or the previous times when I had to deal this kind of situation. And theoretic knowledge is something really different than realized knowledge. And I'm also not on a level that I could really have realized knowledge, like Bhishmadev could act in this way because he had realized knowledge about that even before coming to this situation. So anyway, when we get closer and closer to this situation, our perception about it and our ideas and views will change about this. And I would like, today I decided to also read a few things about this topic, because I found a very nice book about the topic of death. I will just stop screen sharing to show you. This is the book. This is compiled and edited by Giriraj Swami, and the title is Life's Final Exam, and contains very different aspects of this topic of leaving the world. And so anyway, I just start the first thing which I wanted to share of this one. So it's a memory of one devotee, and he said that recently a colleague and a friend passed away, and before his death he said, "When you get this close to death, you see that it is not what you thought. All our life we fear it, but when you are this close, you see that it is not the end. It is a portal to opportunities beckoning us, a portal beyond which we are able to see our true existence and nature, that we are all actually entities that don't pass away. It is not something negative or destructive. It is the opposite of that, usually life-affirming. Life is for learning lessons, and that is our best instructor to teach us the most important of lessons, because it reveals the essence and purpose of life and throws light on our eternal spiritual nature." So this is another point of view, not just watching girls at the end of life. And we can see that Bhishmadeva acted according to this. So he's lying on the deathbed, a bed actually made of arrows. And, he could have watched girls, or he could have asked for water because he feels thirsty, or, sometimes when there are criminals who are sentenced to death, there is this last wish. So sometimes they ask something to drink or eat. Someone could ask for pizza. That is a favorite of many people. So he could want to do so many arrangements, but here he is lying on this bed of arrows and teaching the next generations, actually. So it's a really difficult, a different type of approach. What can someone do in this situation? And he's speaking about God. And he's not the only one in the scriptures, because actually the main story of Srimad Bhagavatam is about this, that Parikshit Maharaj knows that he will die in 7 days. And he also turns to Krishna. He's not teaching, he's listening, he's learning about what can he do to get to Krishna after leaving this world. And so it really shows that it is an important topic also in the Bhagavatam. And even in present age, we can see that Srila Prabhupada is also such an extraordinary personality. And he was also on his deathbed, and still we could see on videos that he was still dictating these commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's really not an easy task to do, to focus in this situation, as I understand. But these personalities could do it because they were on such a high level of bhakti. And again, from this book which I showed it to you, it speaks about the departure of devotees, because devotees, even with their death, they can preach. So, for example, in Hungary, I remember that there was a devotee. 1 or 2 years ago, she left her body, and she was beautifully dressed before this cremation process, and all those people there who just did their job, with this whole process, they were so amazed to see someone so pure, even with her appearance, with her looks like this, she could preach. So this book says that among devotees, it is a different matter. On several occasions, I have heard a medical professional or family member present at a devotee's death speak of his or her own experience of the event as transformative. If devotees know how to deal with death, it is because they have learned to deal with it all their lives. Death is not an anomaly. It is integral to their every endeavor. Srila Prabhupada described our death as the final examination of our life. This is actually this book's title, also, this life's final exam. That means each of us becomes directed toward our death, as good students are directed toward their finals. So devotees have a different approach. They, first of all, many times the problem for people when they have to leave their bodies, that they think that they own so many things, actually also their body, and they just cannot let these things go. And for devotees, it's different, because devotees understand that everything belongs to the Lord. Even my body belongs to the Lord. So I just give it back to Him, and they know that even during their lives, they understand that I don't want to make so much effort to accumulate so much wealth, money, and family, and different stuffs, because I won't be able to carry it after my departure from this body. And also another thing to consider is that Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that time I am the great destroyer of the worlds. So actually, while we are heading towards our last moment, actually we are going towards Krishna, because at the time when we have to leave this body, we will meet actually Krishna in the form of death. And here comes the nectar from this book. It's really a beautiful description of how we see that, how Bhishma Deva also saw that in a sense, by becoming devotees, we also accomplish our death. We willingly enter the process of divesting ourselves of all our false possessions, and when we surrender ourselves wholeheartedly to Krishna, we meet him as our most wonderful and enchanting lover or companion or child. So it's beautiful that when that moment happens, actually we meet with Krishna. It continues. This is the wonderful process of surrender. It is true that in the beginning, giving up our material attachments and our false ego may seem like death. Of course, we discover that what dies is only the mislabeled self, constructed of material illusions, and its dying discloses the eternal spiritual self. That's why when devotees approach their time of physical death, they have already had much practice, because we even try to be detached our values in life. So it's not a new thing when we experience that at the time of death. So when their time here is drawing to an end, their Krishna consciousness accelerates. When their time comes to give up everything, they embrace it. So that is mercy. We experience it as mercy. In our process, three things increase simultaneously. One, bhakti or devotion. Two, pareshanubhava, direct experience of the Supreme Lord. It's wow, it's amazing, I think. And viraktir anyatra, this is the third, detachment from everything else. At the time of death, if we enter into it properly, all three receive a powerful boost. So I think it's really, really powerful statement that our bhakti, our direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and our detachment from everything else, it receives a powerful boost. So this is how devotees can approach death. And we see that there are these extraordinary elevated souls, and they actually so much feel the suffering of all the other people and all living entities that they try to help us till the last moment, till they can breathe. They just want to help and help. And they can actually, because they are the ones who actually understand how to live in order to achieve this kind of consciousness. And they really understand life because they really understand death. And these two are actually connected. Because if you understand death, then you will be able to live your life properly, that you will be able to pass this last exam properly. So actually, we need to do our practice even before that, and we have to do these preparations. We have to prepare for that moment, because if someone doesn't understand death and doesn't understand what is after death, then, for example, if someone thinks that, oh, I'm just this body, then what will he do? He will just enjoy his senses because, okay, let's make the most out of this life, what I can. And it's sense gratification, actually. But if someone wants to merge into Brahma Jyoti, they want to understand the real significance, the real power, and the real happiness which comes from service. And they want to understand what are actually what is the value of relationships, and relationships are connected with service. So we have to understand death, and we have to understand what comes after death, and then we will be able to prepare for that moment. Because usually these the people tend to act three ways when it's about that. First of all, we don't believe that we will die. So many people die, but I won't die. It will be so, after such a long time, it may not even come. And in this book, I would like to read something which was really heart-touching for me, about the understanding that actually death can come any moment, really, even if just 1 second everything is normal, and in the next second everything is turned upside down. So it's Sundara Rupa Das once related his experience on a December morning in 1985. He was with a group of devotees in Rome's Da Vinci airport, checking in to an El Al flight to Jerusalem, when terrorists, later identified as belonging to the Abu Nidal organization, launched an attack on the Israeli airline at its boarding area. A crowd of passengers stood there before the gate patiently, enduring the slow and careful Israeli security checks. In the open dining area of an adjacent restaurant, breakfasters looked on the travelers, waited, and loved ones parted or reunited into this utterly ordinary, peaceful scene, comforting in its familiarity. 4 men entered, striding toward the El Al crowd. Grenades appeared in their hands, and they released them in unison with a loud underhand bowler's pitch that sent them rolling and tumbling along the floor between the waiting passengers' feet. In a second, everything changed. The place filled with percussions, flashes, and flying body parts. Victims' screams became overwhelmed by the chattering of terrorist assault rifles, whose streams of bullets tore through the living and the dead. Italian security arrived to let loose with their own automatic weapons, killing 3 terrorists, but adding a much higher number to the total of killed and wounded. None of the devotees were hurt. This was the first thing Sundararupa remarked on when he recalled the event for me. The second thing was how a peaceful, reassuring scene of ordinary life could be so instantly transmogrified into chaos and carnage. It was a revelation. So I read something interesting about this material world, that there are these catastrophe movies. And actually this whole material world could be a big catastrophe movies like Martya Loka, or the world of destruction, or something titled something like this. So anytime, anything can happen. So we will have to face this situation also, surely, 100%. And the second point is that, yes, for some time we don't believe it. And actually, after some time, when someone realizes that, okay, I will have to die, but I will try to trick it somehow. That there are so many experiments, scientists want to find the key to eternal life. And I remember one of my friends also said sometime, it was a few years ago, that he said that, now in whichever country, old age was identified as a disease. So now it's possible that they can research the how to fight death, how to have eternal life. And it's okay, the paperwork is done, so now we can be eternal people. So it was just nonsense, so people try to make life longer and longer, but whatever happens, this is the nature of material life, that we have to die. And whatever we do, we won't be able to trick it. And then when nothing works, the third attitude is when someone becomes fearful of death. And actually, they are afraid how will this process will happen, how much suffering it will be, where will I get after death, if I will cease to exist, or if there is an afterlife, what will happen to all my belongings here. So there is fear about all these things. But fortunately, as devotees, we can avoid this, because if we just all the time fear for our lives, then we are not able to live, actually. Many times, for example, my parents are so worried that they tell me that please, after it's dark outside, don't go outside of your home. But I used to tell them that in winter time it's 4 o'clock and it's dark outside. So not to leave my home even at 5 o'clock or something. So it's not worth all the time just being afraid. And so the main point is that when these personalities who actually realized how to live, how to die, they give their teachings. We have to listen to that. We have to understand these teachings, and we have to live according to that, because death is just one point of our lives. But there is many years before that, and during those years we have to prepare for that time. Actually, I heard the story that there was a kingdom, and in that kingdom there was always a king. But the law of this kingdom was that the king, after he retired, he had to leave for an abandoned island to live the rest of his life there alone. And everybody wanted to be king in that country, because it looks so attractive that, okay, I can rule others and I have great opulence and so many things. But nobody felt like going to that abandoned island. So after some time, one king came, and he was a very good ruler. The country was prosperous, but at some time his time came when he had to retire, and he left this kingdom and moved to that island. But at that time when he arrived, the island wasn't abandoned, because he prepared for his retirement. So sent there so many facilities, sent there many friends and relatives. So when he arrived to that island, he wasn't alone, and he wasn't just with sticks and stuff, but he had a nice home there. So actually, this is what happens with us also, that we have to prepare for leaving this world, and to join our friends and our teachers and other devotees in the spiritual world. So we have to prepare for that even during our life. And because in okay, I will share it again. So, because in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about how the mind behaves. And, if we let the mind go whatever way it wants to go, it's like, if you let loose wild horses, do not expect those horses in the end of the day to behave nicely and follow your control. So Krishna says that we have to deliver ourselves with the help of the mind. So this is one of the things which we really have to learn during our lives, and not to degrade ourselves. And the mind can be a friend of the conditioned soul and his enemy as well. So we have to be really strict about having discipline for the mind. And the other thing here is that Krishna says that it's very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So these are Krishna's instructions for us, how to educate our mind, that the mind will be able to behave properly at the time of death, when there will be so many things happening at that time. But we will be able to control the mind and focus it on Krishna. So on the other side, because we spoke about the situation, the position of Bhishma Dev, but let's examine the situation from the side of the Pandavas, because I was thinking that, okay, here is Bhishma Dev. He's a loving relative of the Pandavas, but at the same time, when there was this dice game and the Pandavas were humiliated, especially Draupadi was really humiliated, and there was Bhishmadev and he did nothing. And there came the Kurukshetra war. And Bhishmadev decided to join the side of the Kauravas. So, does he really love us? I mean, he's fighting against us. And even there was this situation with these 5 arrows, these 5 golden arrows, when Duryodhana was criticizing Bhishmadev that he doesn't fight with his full strength. And then Bhishmadev vowed that he will kill the Pandavas the next day and had these 5 arrows for them. And you can imagine him, the next day he wouldn't have changed his mind. It was Krishna's arrangement that it didn't happen. But, just examine the situation from the side of the Pandavas that, okay, there is this person. Should we really hear from him? I mean, he's a real devotee fighting against Krishna and against Dharma and stuff like that. And many times we also have this kind of problem. I remember that there was one occasion here in the Budapest temple when there was a big festival, but not for the devotees, but for preaching with prasadam, inviting many people. And one of the cooks there just somehow didn't properly behave with one of my friends. And my friend told this to someone, her spouse, and the Prabhu told her, okay, that if he's behaving like this, don't even eat of something which he cooked. And many times this is our mentality, that, oh, this is a pretender, we shouldn't hear from him or her because he's not really living what he speaks about. But we can understand that despite of all what happened, Bhishmadev was really an exalted person, and it was really beneficial to hear from him. And the Pandavas could see his position, and they really showed respect, and they really, really eagerly wanted to listen and hear from him. And this is what we also have to follow. And for this, we can wait for the exalted soul's last moment to understand, oh yeah, he's really a great personality, I want to hear from him. But at that time it might be late. So we really have to understand the situation, the position of devotees, and obviously respecting everyone, but also seeing that who can give us valuable knowledge. And there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam which speaks about this, that every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So, this verse speaks about how we should behave. But before it comes at how we behave, we have to know what is the other person's position. So we have to see whom we should hear from and utilize all the time when they are together with us in this material world, and really, really want to hear from them. And just one last thing which I would like to share. This is also from this book. It's from Radha Swami. And this is a short thing. He called it the final exam. This is probably the topic of today's presentation. So he wrote that if one truly wants to understand how to live, how to perfect one's life, one must follow in the footsteps of the great souls. Through their every word and act, the great souls teach us how to live and they also teach us how to die. People are very anxious, especially in today's society, to learn how to live nicely. People are anxious to accumulate wealth, prestige, power, and luxuries. But they do not understand that more important in this world than learning how to live nicely is learning how to die nicely, because death is the final exam. What is the use of going through all the education, all the classes and seminars, and reading all these books, but failing the final exam? One has to start all over again. Everything we do culminates in how we perform in the final exam, and how we perform in the final exam is dependent on how we prepare ourselves during the course. This human life is a course. We are all in school, whatever our age. And the purpose of this course of the human form of life is to graduate. Graduate means we no longer have to go to school. We graduate from this material conception of life and return to the spiritual world. So that's what I plan to say, and we can open up for discussion.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. That was a wonderful, detailed, thought through explanation of the verse, giving cross references to other verses from the scriptures, and making very important point and very powerful points that we should all contemplate. So thank you very much for that, Mataji. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I am hopeful that you are inspired by the lecture, and I would really suggest if you can turn on your camera. So we are very few participants. We can make it more interactive and lively. And I would really encourage to ask questions and discussions on this topic if you have any, or any other realizations, dear devotees. Hare Krishna, we have apologies, P. Mystery. I don't know the full name, so please accept my apologies for that. Please go ahead and ask the question. And if it's possible to turn on your camera, that would be even better.
Sorry, Prabhu, I'm having a technical problem. I'm not sure whether you can see me.
Yeah, we can see you, Prabhuji.
No, I found it very interesting. Thank you, Mataji. That was a beautiful presentation. And I particularly like I suppose this is just a reflection, but I particularly like the points you made about how, life is an exam, and we are here, we have this opportunity, this one life to perfect ourselves and to hopefully pass the exam, and then we get to the final sort of point. But yeah, no, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing it with us.
Mataji, I have a question. Well, we have other devotees think about. Prabhupada mentions in the purport there of that verse that, that wasn't the right time to ask, but nonetheless, Krishna inspired for the questions to be asked to Bhishmadev. And, sometimes we find that we have very senior devotees and sannyasis who are very busy with a lot of schedules and things like that. And he's always wondered, do you really post a question which could be very silly, could be very immature, but it's important to you? So what should you, if you can shed some light on that, because, the purport mentions that wasn't the right moment, but still Krishna inspired because he wanted to glorify the devotee.
Yeah, actually, the part in the purport was a little bit puzzling for me also. I have some understanding, but I'm not sure if it's correct. But as I understand, your question is more likely a practical one, how we should approach our spiritual masters and other elevated devotees. Actually, as I understand, there are no really silly questions. So, how to say, if the only problem in questioning something is if we don't have a proper mood while asking, because these elevated devotees, I had some experiences about this, that they were asked something which I considered silly questions. They didn't show any sign of considering that a silly question, but they could make something valuable out of it. Because, we used to say that the holy name is Chintamani, but also there are so many types of Chintamanis in our movement, and these elevated devotees, they are also something like that. That whatever they get, they can turn it into a valuable gem in the service of Krishna. So sometimes we ask silly questions, and it might be silly question, but even then they can give some really valuable answers. So actually, asking questions is all the time is a possibility for learning something new. And the other thing which you mentioned is timing. Yeah, it's actually we are very fortunate because our Guru Maharaj is very approachable. He's also busy, so I don't say it's not like that, but it's not like he has 10,000 disciples and we have to go through administrators or something like that to ask a question. So he's really merciful and approachable, but we also should use it properly, and actually asking questions to understand this knowledge more is our responsibility, because if we ask, then it's a chance to clarify something, and we will be able to do our service better. And if we don't ask, then we might commit mistakes which could be avoided. Another thing is that sometimes if we have something to be clarified, we can ask our Guru Maharaj, but there are also other senior devotees. So we have authorities, counselors, mentors, so we can approach them with our questions. It's also a possibility, but we shouldn't hesitate to contact also our gurus with questions. And I just remember all the time, there is one story which I've heard, and this comes to my mind regarding these topics, that here in Hungary, there was one Mataji who had some difficulties, but when she didn't contact her guru, Shivanam Maharaj, and at some point when somehow Maharaj came to find out this, then he just scolded this Mataji, mentioning that you are in the way of me properly doing my service to Krishna. So maybe he didn't put it into words so strongly, but the main message is that our gurus can do their service nicely to Krishna, to their guru, if we help them by revealing our difficulties. And difficulties have a big range. It can be really small one, just being some kind of doubt or whatever, but sometimes it can be bigger. Obviously, if it's bigger, then we approach our gurus. But we should also help them to so that they can help us, because this is their service. I don't know if it was helpful.
Oh, thank you, Mataji. No, I think that did help. Thank you for that nice explanation. Hare Krishna.
One thing which I forgot to mention is that there are many ways how to express our questions. So, it be that the guru is in a hurry going somewhere. We obviously don't approach him at that time. For example, if we write an email, then he can decide if he answers it, when he answers it, how he answers it. So there are different ways how to approach him, and we can be mindful which way we choose.
Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any other realizations, comments, questions?
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, thank you.
Sorry.
Yes, you can
Hare
go
Krishna.
ahead. Yes,
Shall I
Namrata
go?
Mataji, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought somebody was asking. I'm sorry. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to our dear Guru Maharaj, and all glories to the assembled devotees. So, Mataji, just a follow-up from what Diptesh Prabhuji asked. How do we discriminate that what sort of things we should ask our Guru Maharaj and what sort of things we should not? Yeah, one basic discrimination is, we should reject the material things. We should reject our material problems. But even in our sadhana or even in our practices or in, dealing with the devotees, there are many such things where we have questions. So how do we understand what to ask our Guru and what to not?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure I'm able to go to say some kind of algorithm, because I think it's somehow really it's combined what kind of things we ask from our counselors, mentors, and what kind of things we ask from the Guru. Obviously, when we have some kind of a great difficulty, then it's not a question that we approach the Guru, even if not asking anything, but at least for him to know. So when we have doubts, when we have difficulties in our life, even with our sadhana, we can approach him, at least informing him, because he's responsible for us. So if he doesn't know that there is some kind of problem, then he won't be able to help. If there are some kind of practical things, then it's I would approach more likely my counselor, because in smaller practical things, they can give practical advices, because if someone has some kind of experience, then they can share it. And many times I got so many good advices, which sometimes is just that my perspective has to be widened a bit, because I see things in a certain way. And there are these, I don't know in English if it's also the same, these black spots, which somehow I'm not able to perceive. And if someone watches the same things from a different perspective, they might be able to see all those things. So in practical things, counselors, mentors can give great advices. Obviously, if I approach them 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, and somehow it's still not working out, then it's good to approach the Guru with this. And about philosophical questions, well, there are different levels of that. And if the question is difficult or not, and if it's just, I just want to clarify something, or it's even a doubt in me, because if I have doubts, then that might be a bit problematic, because then it could affect my faith, and then I just slowly start to divert from our processes. So these are my thoughts, but it's really difficult to say that, okay, this question here, that question there, but really, sometimes Guru Maharaj also says that we have to use our intelligence, but these are my guidelines, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Did it help, or can I add something else to it, or?
No, it did help, but I was just thinking I should contemplate a little on this, on my own question, like maybe a little more situational. What I'm not telling about the particular situation I have faced, but I do notice that many times devotees face certain situations in temples, and dealing with devotees also. So maybe I wanted to contemplate on my own question for a while what you have answered. Maybe I'll come back to you. But
Okay.
so far I have understood what you are telling, that at the first level we should go to our counselor, and then if it is not working out from there, or maybe some something which cannot be disclosed even there, then we should approach Maharaj, if I'm understanding it right. Is it?
Yeah. Because also one thing which you mentioned, that when sometimes we have some local type of problems with local devotees, and those mentors who are there in the temple maybe more likely understand the whole situation. So that's also a benefit of approaching these mentors. And also, as I understood, this was also a guideline in this God Family Mentorship Program also, that Guru Maharaj emphasized that, okay, you can join. So if you are part of a local mentorship program, that's good. And don't leave it for joining this God Family program. So you can be part of both, but if there is local program, then you should join that. And that was the practical reason for that, because they can help you in more practical ways also. I also heard about situations when if everybody knows everyone, it might cause some preconceptions, and that might also be a problem. So if the situation cannot be solved in that way, then it's worth trying to find other ways too. So it's not that we have to tolerate everything which we cannot actually tolerate. I heard sometime from one devotee that sometimes we have, for example, difficulty in our service. So there are two ways how to approach this. One way is that okay, I tolerate it, then it's purification and it's beneficial. On the other hand, I can also leave the situation and look for other services. And maybe that's best for my mind, because I can do my service in a more peaceful mind and focus more on pleasing Krishna and the Guru and the devotees. So what to do? And I've heard this, and I really like this approach, that if you are able to tolerate, then it's good, and then tolerate, and then you really be more purified. But there are some times when we are not able to tolerate. And if we are not able to tolerate and still remain in the situation, then the result will probably be Vaishnava aparad. And it's definitely not purifying us. So in that situation, it's better to leave leave the service and look for other ways. But it's really up to the intelligence, because if I just say all the time, oh, I'm not able to tolerate, then it's also not good, because, you know, all the time just escape when it's difficult. It's not our way of solving our lives. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Namrata Mataji, wonderful question, and hope you got a good answer. Thank you. You also had Jayashri Mataji raise the hand. If you want to go ahead.
No, it's all right, Prabhuji. Part of my question's been answered already, so it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mataji, we're just approaching the hour.
Mhm.
If there's no questions, is it okay to conclude the call today?
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
So, thank you very much for attending the call. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha sripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki Jai. Her Grace Radha Vinodini Mataji ki Jai. His
Guru
Holiness
Maharaj
Guru
ki
Maharaj ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.